Welcome to Rhythm of Love, the podcast. I'm Clarence.
And I'm Yalonda. We celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary by writing a book together about what it took to get us here.
And in this podcast, we go deeper and break down what we learned along the way. We hope you enjoy and engage.
Comment, share, and subscribe. We'd love to hear what you have to say about what it takes to make relationships last.
Yes, we will.
Welcome to Rhythm of Love, the podcast. I'm Clarence.
And I'm Yalonda.
And we're here just to talk about stuff. That's not a good way to describe it.
No.
So we've been married 28 years, almost 29 years, you guys know. And so we're letting you hear the stuff that we talk about that helps shape kind of the path of what we do. So that's what we're doing. Yeah. That's what we're doing. So to me, that amounts to stuff. So we're here to talk about stuff.
Shorty says stuff. We're here to talk about stuff. Stuff that is to be discussed. Okay. So
in what? In our new instance? Okay, sorry, you gonna say it? All right. You want me to introduce you? I was gonna introduce you. You introduced me last time.
What did I say?
Just let me introduce you.
Okay, sure.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever you said, I'm going to say something that's not going to be what you said, just because I don't remember what you said. So I'm going to say what I'm going to say.
Me, so
right. So, we're going to kick the episode off with one of our newer segments called Threebies. So 3 things, and Yalonda, this week it's Yalonda who's going to give her 3 things. So
all right. I'm going to talk about 3 things that help our autistic daughter organize herself in time. First thing is we keep a paper calendar on the wall.
I mean, a real like
back in the day.
Every day you gotta every month you gotta fold it down to a new month, things
yes,
like that.
The old-fashioned calendar on the wall in the kitchen. She loves to talk about the date of the next day. Like as we get towards the end of the night, she's like, okay, let's talk about tomorrow.
19, right. 20.
So she'll just randomly walk up to you and say a number.
After she goes to the calendar.
Yeah, right after she goes to the calendar. And also we can write things on the calendar that are going to be happening. So in a couple Saturdays, I'm going to be going to a career fair. So I wrote that on the calendar. And so when mom is ready to walk out the door, the calendar's right there to remind her where I am and that I'll be back.
It really helps her organize her thoughts because she can look at those things and see what's happening. Like if we go out of town, we'll say we're going to
mark all the days.
Daddy will be gone these days.
And back on this day. And they tell us when we're both gone, and she walks around saying, Mommy, Daddy, and they can say, and 11 if we're coming back on the 11th. 11. So they could just reminder that we're coming back. And then also we use timer.
That's number 2?
Yes, number 2. We use a timer. In which case, if she has to wait for something, it's difficult for her to, she doesn't tell time. We can't just say in 2 hours or at 4:00, this is going to happen. We can, but what really drives the point home is if we set a timer. And it has to be a timer that she can see counting down constantly. So a screen with a timer on it works very well for her. And she comes back and she'll say, remember, we were going to leave. Okay, check the timer, Moni. Or she comes back, I'm ready to eat. Remember, check the timer. As soon as the timer goes off, that's when it's going to happen.
So as a plug for Alexas or Echoes, that's what we have. Oh no, we're not rocking with Amazon right now, but we have a bunch of them in our house, and that's what we kind of use. So you can say, Alexa, set timer for 2 hours, and it'll put a timer up on the screen, and she can walk by it and see it, and you can always say, check the time, and she knows
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
And it's not so great when we do it like on her tablet or something like that, because if she can hold it in her hand, she'll just keep changing the time herself.
She's
like,
like,
it's only 2 minutes left.
Right. She just updated herself.
Sis, that's all right. And then the number 3 thing that we use are schedules, like to write down what the 3 things we're going to do while we're out in the car.
So
or something.
Did you call it a list of activities? Because once
it's
they hand
it's not really a schedule because it doesn't have a time on it. It's just a list of the things that we're going to do.
So one thing organizes her for what's going to happen next. One thing organizes her for how things are going to happen in a day. And then the other thing lets her know kind of like what's going to happen on a higher scale. Because if you think about this, you went calendar
to timer to list.
Right.
Yep. Right. So I should have said calendar to list to timer for smaller increments of time. So we can say, okay, today this is what's going to happen. You're going to have breakfast, and then and we just write it. Number 1, breakfast. Number 2, and when she's ready to go on to something, it always helps if something on that list is something she really wants to do, like go out in the car. So the car is number 4, and we have other things before that. She'll come to us like car or ready to go. And we're like, okay, that's number 4, Moni. We're still on number 2.
But you got to scratch the things out on the list. Yes. As you get them done, you got to scratch them out on the list.
And it really helps for her to continue to just remind herself, yes, this is going to happen. It's not happening right now because she's a kind of a right now type of girl. It's not happening right now, but it will happen. So you have to keep your promise too. If you write something on the list or you set the time, you have to actually do what you're going to do on those times. So that's it. Just wanted to share those Threebies. Maybe that will help someone who's also dealing with communication or time challenges.
Perfect. So
that was the Threebies.
That's the Threebies for the day. So all right. So what's the topic that we want to discuss today?
So sadly, guys, I have been furloughed from my job. We live in the DMV, and a lot of people in the DMV either work for the government or work for the federal government or work for contractors for the federal government. And I was a contractor. My furlough is 90 days, so maybe I'm still saying it in the present. I am a contractor. And the company that I work for is a nonprofit that did a great deal of work, business contracts, grants with USAID, the Agency for International Development. And if some of you know, that agency was gutted by DOGE, and henceforth, my company lost a lot of money. They didn't get paid for work that had actually already happened, and they weren't going to get, any further payments. So furloughs out the wazoo. I work on the domestic side of things. We did have a smaller domestic portion of the company, but that also got affected by other, stop work orders that were for domestic work.
So we're talking millions and millions of dollars here. We're not talking, a few $100s, and we're talking money that was already outlaid.
Yes.
So the people did the work
already been done
in November and December.
Purchases that have been made, yes,
based on purchase orders that have been submitted and signed, and agreement to be paid for those things. So that's money that they're expecting to go in. For those who are in business, that would be considered cash flow. So basically, they cut off the flow of all cash to you guys, even for things that you were owed.
85% of the cash revenue that we working with.
Several $1 million.
Yes. And so several hundred people were furloughed. And then it's just been a trickle down effect of more people being furloughed. almost each week.
So what's the difference between being furloughed and being fired?
So being furloughed means you still are an employee of the company, but you are not allowed to do any work whatsoever, and you don't get paid because you aren't doing any work. And in our case, I don't know if this is for every furloughed person, but when you're furloughed, you also may still get benefits depending on the cash flow of the company. And it's something that companies do when their cash flow is interrupted, typically temporarily. And so I don't know if they're hoping that I'm sure in the beginning they were hoping it was a temporary thing because the government said that we just want to look over our contracts, and in 90 days we'll, be able to determine what can go and what could come. Well, within 30 days, they just started terminating contract after contract after contract. It's no way that they were really doing a thorough review of these.
They didn't review them at all. They didn't review them at all.
Yeah.
They were going to do it from the beginning.
Yeah. They just needed to make it look like they did some due diligence. And the thing is, they were, no, that's neither here nor there. But, yeah, so they decided it was a 30-day review and that they were just tossing out so many contracts for foreign assistance. So people don't know what USAID does. They're the agency that sends AIDS medicine to other countries. Food that our farmers grow gets sent to other people in other countries. Just programs to help people have safe sex or to reduce domestic violence. Just so many things.
So let me add one more piece. So USAID was actually founded by Kennedy, I believe, in the 60s, in the mid 60s, before he got assassinated. I didn't even think about that. It may be one of the reasons. The whole point of it was to spread goodwill around the world so that America's foreign policy would be perceived better because they were helping people around the world with their local issues. We'll call it that. Right. If you need this in your village, right, or you need this in your city,
or we
will help you. We could help you out. Yes. So it was a goodwill gesture to the rest of the world from the United States,
which not only saves lives and improves health and well-being of the people in those countries, but as you were getting at, it is for our own security as well.
It can endear us to people. People can feel.
People look upon us in a favorable fashion, right, as opposed to we are some kind of powerful entity that harms them.
Okay.
And that they need to fight against.
So I guess this would turn into an interview. So
sure.
Now that you have that you've been furloughed, today was your last day.
Yes.
How are you feeling about this?
I have gone through the stages of grief, or I'm in the stages of grief, because of course it's a cycle and you kind of circle back and forth between the stages. My first feeling was just anger. I was so angry. Angry at what is happening to our country. Angry at what it means for people who look like me, people who don't look like me, but are marginalized or poor or all these things. And I just felt like swept up in this very nonsensical, hate-driven activity. Like, because someone who has power and who shouldn't even be in the office that they're in, either the orange guy or the X guy, the Tesla guy, neither one of them should be where they are. And because they have such disdain and hatred and greed and vanity, this is what has caused me to lose my job. It has nothing to do with any performance, any value of what we were bringing and doing. We were doing good work and actually helping people. We have the numbers and the receipts to show how many lives were saved and health was changed.
So they would argue that they don't care about the lives of people in other countries.
Of course.
But my question, and I guess it's not a question to you because you can't possibly answer it, is if you're going to eliminate these types of things within the government because you think it's wasteful, which, is arguable.
You can think that, yes.
Which is arguable. I guess what I thought was an issue is how it was done. You can't come into office and tell people on Friday, tomorrow is your last day. Imagine that type of cutthroatness as a way to get this done. It's one thing to say, we are shutting down this agency, and for the next 90 days,
yes,
start to figure out how you're going to roll some of these things back. We need you to reduce your budget and your work size by 70%.
Right. And let the people who do the work
start to trim it out.
To realize, okay, we really don't need this. This is a process that is redundant, or, this is a position that...
just give them a chance. Even if you say after 90 days, we're going to do it. But you give people an opportunity to get into the correct place where you want to do it, and it also gives people a chance. It sucks either way, but it gives people a chance to work their way through it. It's like cold turkey versus methadone, where people get weaned off of something,
or it's like surgery versus chainsaw, which he's
scalpel versus chainsaw. Yeah, you and I had that conversation.
Versus chainsaw, and he's very proud of his chainsaw. But even what you're describing, in some sense, it gives the impression that there is thought being given to it, and that there's good faith and goodwill behind it.
Sure.
But there's none of that.
There's none of that.
There's none of that whatsoever. It's performative to make people who don't understand how government works think that they're doing something. Most of the quote unquote savings that they say that they have achieved are not really achieved. They're talking about, they will give you the full contract total. Like, this contract is worth $8 million. Never mind the fact that $5 million has already been spent.
Right.
Or that $8 million is a legal contract that's binding on the government to pay.
Right.
And they'll call that a savings of $8 million.
Right.
So they're lying about what they're saving. There's just nothing honest. There's nothing.
It's certainly a questionable misrepresentation.
It's completely, to me, from my view, what I see, what I've read, is just performative.
Oh yeah,
it's just to make their voters think that they're keeping some promises that they made. Even the promises themselves were not made in good faith, in my opinion.
So
anger, and then sadness, and then just resolve.
So, all right. So we went through anger. We went through sadness. We didn't talk about sadness, but
but these were just other emotions that I felt. Because I learned of this 2 weeks ago.
I think the stages are.
Oh yeah, it's not. I was just saying the stages are great. I was never in denial. I mean, for moments, flashing moments, I would be like, what if something, right? What if they did pay their bills that they owe? Right. Or what if, I was only 50% time, so they didn't even have to have full coverage for me. So what if, I could save them, on some other monies that they would have spent, because I'm only 50%, and they can do the math and figure it out. But as every week we're getting more updates on just the cuts and cuts and cuts. It was just slash. On, hardly ever any good news. I think we just recently heard that the Supreme Court has ruled that they do have to pay at least their back bill or for work that has been done that they haven't completed. But there is no timeline for that. There is no appealing because it is the Supreme Court said it. But it's easy to believe that they will not do the right thing.
So the appeal, it's not an appeal. What the administration has asked the Supreme Court to do is to be more specific about which activities they have to pay for and which they don't. That's how they extend this even farther. They said you got to pay your back.
Just put it back into the hands of the lower court judge.
They'll put it back into the hands of the lower court judge. The lower court judge will decide, and then they'll appeal that back to the Supreme Court and say, we don't think that these
particular activities
should be there. And that's how you just
continue
to do it. And it is sad. It's a sad state of affairs. That one of the things that I have said to you, even before this happened to you directly, or before it directly impacted us, was I don't think that they are considering in any way, shape, or form the ripple effect of this. You mentioned something earlier, and because we talked about this, that one of the biggest buyers of grain in the United States is USAID, because they buy the grain and then they take the grain and ship it to other countries. So it's kind of the farmers get paid from USAID to grow this grain for the grain to go away. Now the farmers still have that grain. They got that grain now. Now they got to figure out what to do with it,
sell it,
if they can even sell it, at what price they can sell it,
yes,
and what that causes.
And then you have a timeline. You can't just store grain indefinitely. Yes.
So that means that drives the price of grains down because they got a huge surplus, unexpected surplus, but that surplus does not necessarily impact our grocery store prices because it's such a big surplus that they're not sure how long they can even store it or keep it before they have to discard it. So it's just a tremendous level of ripple effect for these things.
Who are the farmers buying? Who are they paying their equipment for, to, and repairs of their equipment. And, as your farm is suffering from this big loss, there are decisions you're going to make of things you're not going to buy and not going to do.
So now tractors don't get bought. Exactly. Now farm hands don't have it. All of these things are the ripple effect of these kinds of decisions. And I don't think that
they care.
They care, but more than that, I don't think they care. I don't think Middle America cares, because Middle America doesn't realize they consider, because we're coastal, we're considered East Coast, so they consider us to be this elite class of people who does not consider them at all,
especially government workers.
So we're city people who don't think about what an honest day's work is. And the answer is, you're about to feel what it's like to not have us need your product that you sell. If you thought you were having difficulty before, imagine how much more difficult it's going to be when your consumer can no longer consume
your goods. Exactly. So it's going to affect across the board.
Correct.
All the things that we purchase and use on a daily basis.
And you tack on the tariffs, which is a different topic altogether. And now you are increasing the price of everything. Someone said, and I heard this guy, and I laughed about it when I read it. They said, if I have a choice if a product is coming into this country that costs $10 and they tack this 25% tariff on it, that now takes this $10 product up to $12.50. And I'm in the United States and I have a product, regardless of what my price of that product is now, why wouldn't I charge $12?
Right. I know I have room to raise the price.
And so he said, so why wouldn't you just raise the price? And I said, and I laughed because the first comment was, you've discovered inflation. You have discovered
it.
Inflation.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what inflation is, where you have an artificial ceiling created for a product that has nothing to do with demand, and that allows people to push their stuff up just for sheer profit generation.
Just for sheer profit, because you know that people will pay, or will
it's
have
cheaper
to pay
than
50. Right. So if they get it for 12, it's a bargain.
It's a bargain. Then you were selling it for 10 just last week.
Yes.
So
yeah.
But
I mean, we could go.
We're getting an economic policy.
See, you see a taste of the kind of things that we end up getting into.
So now,
in terms of politics,
now that you had your grief, now that you have had your anger, now that you've had your acceptance, what's your plan? You said resolution, I think was the word you used. I think that acceptance is the word in for the stages of grief. But
I mean, so I have a short-term plan. It's
all right.
not, it's just, what am I going to do for the next 90 days, for lack of a better word. But there's filing for unemployment, because in the state of,
we've never filed for unemployment in our
ever in our adult lives,
or
in our lives, period. So filing for unemployment, because in the state of Maryland, if you're a furloughed worker, you can file for unemployment. It'll be,
the unemployment claims for Maryland and Virginia are going to be, and DC are going to be out of control.
Right. And the states of Maryland and Virginia are trying to support their federal workers, because, in this area, like I said, there's a lot of us, and they recognize that a lot of their residents were federal workers, were federal contractors. And so they're doing job fairs and resume help and those kind of things. So that's what I'll be tackling partially, and for part of my time as going forward. It's just, thinking about how my skills be transferable to other types of things.
Sure.
Because in my industry has basically been gutted.
Sure.
So how can that apply? Maybe at the state level, local level, hospitals, those kind of things. I'm in public health. So looking at all of that, going to these career fairs, and working on this podcast. Working on our presence on the internet, and and socials and things like that, and also starting our second book. So working on our second book, which is going to be mainly about Simone and being a village for her, and how that has just helped us sustain our marriage, those kind of things. So I won't be doing nothing. I won't be chilling and luxuriating. I did that partially over the last couple of weeks. I just kind of just chilled and let myself go through these different emotions and that kind of thing. So,
all right.
And there was a project management training that I had started. And I went and downloaded all the information for the training. So I'm going to complete that as well.
All right. Well, do you have any questions for me? Because it's not a direct impact on me. It's an indirect impact on me.
Okay. I'm glad you feel like that. I I did have some a question for you. So I was working part-time, and I was working in the afternoons. I would go down to our basement and lock myself down there away from Simone and all those things. And you were working as well, full time up here, not quite, somewhat locked away from Simone, but still being available to her and her staff in the most at times. So how was that for you? Was that working for you? Did you?
How was our work structure working for me?
Yeah.
It was nothing for me. It was what it was.
Okay.
Once you guys came home after COVID, once the kids were home all day long, and you were home here all day long, and I worked through COVID, I figured out how to work with you guys being in the house, as opposed to before that, when you guys weren't here most of the time and it was just kind of me by myself. So,
It didn't really seem like a difference for you.
I mean, the people keep coming. More people keep coming to the house and helping Simone, and now Simone's home, and Nathan's not here most of the time, but then we got Elizabeth and Dala. So, I know how to work when I have to work at home.
Okay.
And there's every room I can go in has a door.
Right. Right. So, I was feeling some type of way about the fact that, I had been out of work, stay-at-home mom for several years, and then going back to work once Simone was out of school and had these extra supports at home. I was like, oh, this is great. Because, I have this space that is separate from my other roles that I play of wife and mother, completely separate. I can think adult thoughts. I can do things that help other people. I can use my skills that I earned. So for me, it was just like the greatest little gift. That 50% time, and it was just enough, and I was making decent money. Not, and I would need to work full time if I would want to pay the mortgage or whatever, but it was enough to really help us with our expenses and all those things. And I just felt more like a whole person. So I think that's the biggest thing that I feel like I lost for the time being, is that space. For you, it sounds like you just close the door and you're fine. But for me, I mean, like, even we both have Simone knocking on our doors.
Sure.
So she knows we're there and doesn't, just leave us completely alone. But it was a good just to have that chunk of time to be focused on something else. So that's what I think that I will miss. And I wanted to ask you, just in general, we talked last week about 50-50 and is that a real thing? And now, for us, I kind of felt like we were 100-0, at least financially. And now we're returning to 100-0. And so I just wanted to bring that up. One, just to say, we just talked about this and now, it's actually happening and we're here. And it's an example, a real life example of how there's really not a such thing as 50-50. But then also, I don't know that you came into this marriage with the expectation that you would be the chief breadwinner. And then you were. And did you have what was that like? Not having the expectation, and then circumstances occur, and it looks like that's what you're going to be.
So the first time it was based on pure logic and a good decision making. It was no reason for you where we were living at the time, and with the amount of money that you were making, working full time then.
Oh, I wasn't even working full time then.
You were working full time when you started.
Oh, when I started,
you were working full time. So, and you were making enough to pay for daycare. And daycare was daycare is astronomical. So when you came home originally, it was because it was just
right.
You were working. You were a pass through for money.
Right.
Going from you to the daycare centers, and so why put us in that place? It wasn't helping with the bills. It wasn't doing those things. So why not do this? But the question you asked was, how did it impact me, or how did it make me feel? It didn't make me feel any particular kind of way. It says this is what I need to do for us right now, for us to be in the best place that we can be. And it's not, and I won't say the best place. It was just the best place we could be. This is what I have to do. Is there some additional pressure when you know that your income is the income for your house? Sure. But it's not any, it's more pressure because there's more mouths, but it's no more pressure than if you want to eat. If you want to eat, this is what you have to do.
Have a roof over your head.
This is what you have to do. So, I've been working since I was 15 years old, washing cars. So, so now you go back to work this latest time, you go back to work and, everything is good. Your money becomes extra money that we didn't have before. So now where we were living more, I don't want to use the word frugally, but we were living
watching our money,
consideration of our money.
Yes.
I was watching it less, because
right. We had a cushion.
We got a lot of cushion here coming in that we didn't have before. And, absolutely will I miss that? Of course I'll miss that. But we've done this before. So it's a muscle that is well formed.
Yes. It didn't atrophy all that much.
We did it for 20 years. And
right.
This we've done for two. So, yes. And even in that 2, we tried to clear up a bunch of things. Hey, rather than just have this money, let's pay off this car. Let's make sure we do this. Let's knock these things out so that we can get better. Now, if we could have done this for 5 or 6 years, we would be in a great place because we would have taken care of all of those things. And now we can really potentially start to save. And Nathan comes out of college. Yeah. So we don't have him in our pockets.
Right.
Although,
to the degree.
He in deep. Right. He's been in deep for 8 years.
Right. Yes.
4 of them years was on us because we picked the school.
The private school.
But the last ones have been on him. So, but that being said, I don't feel any way that's negative. It's just where we are.
What it is. It's just life right now.
Right. I was saddened that I knew how important it was for you and the value that you got beyond just the cash. You were making money and being a cash contributor to the house, because I don't want you to think that I say you weren't contributing before. You were being a cash contributor now,
right,
to the house. We always laugh because it's really our bank account and then your bank account, because you funnel some of your money off to the side.
The tiniest percentage.
But
yes.
But you funneled some, and that was fine. And then from your money that you funneled off, you can do what you felt a freedom to be able to do the things that you want to do.
Yes.
So, there was no argument. There was no complaint. There was even no pushback.
No.
Just, okay, this is what we're going to do. And, I'm sorry that you have lost that, which is why, I have no problem trying to encourage and support you in trying to figure out how you're going to fill that void with other things, whether it is something entrepreneurial like the podcast or the book, or whether it is finding another job that you can do that Ties Plus is hiring.
Oh Lord.
See, Ties Plus looking for a receptionist up there, and you are 1,000% overqualified for that job. 1,000% overqualified for that job, but it's nice and close. But it's right there.
And will they let me work part time? I suppose so. Possibly.
Possible.
It's so close I can walk to.
Yeah. So Ties Plus, they've had that help wanted sign up there for a long, long time.
I wonder why they can't find or keep somebody in that position.
So
I wonder why.
But that's where I land on this. And we got a tremendous support system. We don't borrow a lot from people. We don't,
Oh, right. Yeah.
So if we got into a place where we needed
some help,
we got people
we
who
could
can
tap
help.
into.
And we've had to tap in a couple of times for a couple of different things over the years, but for the most part, we tend to avoid that, and we just tighten our own belt and figure out how we're going to manage it ourselves. And that's what we got some savings, we got some other things. So, we got stuff, and we don't have no car notes.
Right. Amen to that.
No car notes.
No car notes. All right, cars, hold up.
Stay in, and they solid. They seem to be solid.
Solid. Toyotas.
I was gonna buy a new car too.
You were thinking about it before this happened.
I was thinking about that before this happened. We was going to take the car, my current car, and let it be Simone's car for her and her people to get around, and I would buy myself another car.
Yeah.
But not now.
No.
Not now.
You would not be getting a new car note now.
No. Not going.
No. So I think that's it.
Yeah. So, I appreciate your transparency. This is not an easy conversation to have. I suspect that there are lots of people right now having this conversation with themselves, trying to figure that out. Maybe you guys can hear this and get, a couple of nuggets here and there from us and how we handle it. But, just know that you're not alone going through this, that this is a problem, especially in the area that we live in. And I think it's only going to be more widespread. It's going to start to push itself out as people start to realize the government, for all you might dislike it or despise it does a lot more things than you think it does. And you'll realize it when it's not there to be done.
Yes.
So
yes, when you're looking for your state government or something to do these things and it doesn't have the funds or the capabilities in place to get it done.
So, but we'll see. We will see.
I think we should all stick together. One of the things that my company is doing, which is amazing, some of the people at my company are, we're setting up all kinds of ways to help each other, mutual aid, training on different things that people know. Maybe you get a new skill from another coworker. And I think this is the type of thing we're going to have to do going forward, is taking care of each other.
At a level that I'm not sure we have
any experience doing
since the 30s and the 40s. I think this is
right.
I think I already told you I think we're on our way to a depression. Not a recession, a depression. So we'll see. I'm not very optimistic about the direction that we're going.
I'm not very optimistic either, but I am trying to be optimistic as a believer in God, and also as a person who believes in communal support, and that it is possible for us to learn how to support each other and remove some of the individualism and some of the I gotta make what am I getting out of this, and kind of attitude. So
we'll see.
We shall see.
We'll revisit this.
Yes.
Sometime we'll revisit.
Will there be a podcast? Will there be YouTube? Yeah, I don't know.
We'll revisit this.
We don't have very much funny stuff for our clips.
It's all right.
These
will be informational clips.
Yes.
These will be informational clips. So again, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for hanging out with us and getting, as my wife says, the real, because sometimes it ain't funny. Sometimes it's just
life and
it's just real stuff.
Yes.
So you heard us and how we're going to handle this and how we're using these examples in this time to help build our rhythm.
We hope that you also be encouraged, inspired to find your own rhythm as a couple, as a single person, so that you can live by the rhythm and love
by the rhythm.
Yeah.
Do I get to say that one?
Yeah.
All right. Also, like, share, and subscribe. You'll see that coming up below. Please make sure you check us out on Sundays on Heartbeats. We are going to miss a Sunday. We probably already missed it by the time this comes out. Yeah. But I'd say every Sunday.
We are participating in the Amazon blackout.
Yeah. So
and Twitch is
one of the
subsidiary of Amazon, or whatever the company that owns Amazon.
Amazon.
Okay. So yeah.
So we won't be on, but this will probably have aired after that has happened.
Yes.
So, but check us out most Sunday nights. That's what we'll use. Most Sunday nights on twitch.tv/DJC#.
9 p.m. Eastern time.
For Heartbeats, where we have our live music show. So yes. We just got access to do lives on TikTok, so we may actually do a few lives.
Maybe do a live on TikTok on Sunday.
Maybe we do a live on TikTok on Sunday. So maybe work that out. So
for some Chinese billionaires instead of American ones.
We in trouble. We are in trouble. So, all right. And so next week we'll be back, or, next episode, we'll talk about my fitness journey some more. We'll bring that back, and we'll also talk about things the internet has ruined. So we got all kind of stuff happening this year. We thank you so much for hanging out with us in season 2, and we look forward to your comments in the chats below. So make sure you put them in there. We'll respond to them. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
We hope you've enjoyed another exciting episode of Rhythm of Love, the podcast, hosted by Clarence and Yalonda Lewis.
Theme song by Kendra R.
Book graphics by Rihanna Denise.
More information is available at cYLentertainment.com.
Please join us on Sunday nights for our live stream on twitch.tv/DJC#.